There's nothing wrong with me.
Beverly. Beverly. Where is Beverly?
Welcome to Where's Beverly, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Adrienne. Today we're diving into the rough waters of Voyager Season 2, Episode 25, Resolutions. Or, as I like to think of it, the sexiest episode ever of Star Trek.
The Voyager bathtub episode.
It's so good. You guys asked for it, but you're going to wish that you hadn't. So, earlier today, I was thinking about how I needed to rewatch this episode before we talked about it. But before that, I was cooking and I got a sudden urge, like out of nowhere, to listen to Mariah Carey, Always Be My Baby. So I went with that. And then I proceeded to listen to it on repeat for a good 15 minutes because you can't listen to that song just once. And then I asked myself, this is going somewhere. I asked myself, when did this come out? So I Google it and I find out that it was #1 on the US Billboard charts for 2 weeks in the first 2 weeks of May in 1996. And then I asked myself, I say, self, was this a hit when Voyager Resolutions was released? And I said, yes, we think it is, but let's verify. I Googled it. This episode was released May 13th, 1996, and I was effing right. So I just wanted it for our listeners, like, I definitely have magical powers confirmed.
Is that why you randomly texted me May 13th, 1996, and then nothing else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, want to hear something, like, strange?
Yes.
Today when I was driving into work, Always Be My Baby was on the radio.
What?
And I turned past it.
Okay. I was going to say this means we're witches, but now I'm just going to say that I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah, valid.
You don't like Mariah Carey, Always Be My Baby?
Like, I have, like, satellite radio because I'm bougie, and, like, I'm always going to pick the Broadway station. Like, I'm going to see what else is on there, but, like, no.
Listen, in 1996, I was really, really into this song. I tried to steal my friend's CD because she had it, and I didn't have it. And so I remember begging her to let me just keep it for a few more days so that I could continue to listen to this song on repeat. And, 1996 life was good. I was really into bowling and daisies and Always Be My Baby and Star Trek. I think that was the year I got a phaser for Christmas.
A magical year. A truly magical year.
A truly magical year. Did you ever have a phaser or did you have a comm badge?
No, I did not have a phaser. Or a comm badge, actually. Because I got into Star Trek when I was, like, 19. But I did get the door chime. Like, I had a little button that when you pressed it was, like, the door chime noise. And what else?
That's really cool. So that you could say, come.
Yes, I got that. Oh, and I also got a poster of Spot.
Aww.
Spot Data.
Can we just talk for a second about the relief that flooded my soul and the serotonin that my brain got when we found out that Spot was okay after the Enterprise crashed in Generations?
Like, that's inquiring minds want to know. Like, we don't care about anyone else. Is Spot okay?
Is Spot okay? I cried when he was, and I'm gonna cry just thinking about it.
At any moment in time, the ode to Spot is just playing on repeat in my brain.
I like the person that put it on YouTube and made it like a remix.
Oh, with the Snoop Dogg track in the background? That's my favorite.
Yeah. It's excellent. It's absolutely excellent. So this episode, where do we even begin?
Can I just say that this has to be my favorite episode ever of Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman?
Sully's looking really good in it.
Like, it's not the best episode of Star Trek Voyager, but it is the best episode of Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
You're not wrong is the thing.
It's also, when I was rewatching this, I hadn't watched it in, like, a couple months, let's be honest. And, like, I didn't remember it being bedroomized the episode.
It's the whole time. And it's also all these they make eyes at each other and then they turn away and make a face to let the audience watching at home know that they're conflicted about the eyes that they just made. It's it's everything I could want in an episode.
Like, this is way more romantic than that time Orla Brady was in Wuthering Heights.
I continue to be impressed and terrified at how you do this. Like in every
Relate
single
everything back to Orla Brady's filmography.
Oh, I'm very tired. It is 20 past midnight. So if I laugh hysterically for the entire time, now you know. I wrote down that this is, and I quote, the sexiest thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. It's pretty sexy.
Just like the slow burn, the knowing that nothing's going to happen and yet desperately wanting it to. It's basically one of those like 40 chapter fanfics.
Oh, it is. It is. But here's my main problem with this episode. What like, I know it's called resolutions, but why did we have to have a resolution? Why could the show not have veered off into two directions after this? Like, why could we not just have 5 additional seasons of Janeway and Chakotay on New Earth? Like,
Yeah.
why
Like
they have to
every
come back?
episode is them and then Voyager.
Yeah. A plot, B plot, right there. We got it.
I think it would have been really funny if they just ended the show there. Like Voyager left and went bye, and then that was just the end. It just cut to black, and then that's it. There's no more Voyager.
Right. Well, like, it was like, I think, the second to last episode of season 2, right? So yeah, there you go. Star Trek Voyager lasted 2 seasons.
It's over.
Ending with New Earth, and then the new spin-off, Star Trek New Earth, would have been great.
Little House on New Earth. Log cabins. Ah. Okay, so I want to start with a moment that I really, really enjoyed from this. And it's, them sort of waking up from their stasis chambers, which just look like, coffin rockets. And they get out and they find out that they're leaving, and the doctor wasn't able to find a cure for this virus that we never see them getting. There's no explanation for it. They just have a virus. This is the quickest, and when I say quickest, I mean there's none. There's no exposition at all. It's just, surprise, we're in the middle of everything, which actually is an excellent narrative device. So I'm not going to be too critical, but I love it when Chakotay immediately says, "Do you really think you can find a cure?" And Janeway says, "It might take some time, but yes, I do." In her perfect, just like Katharine Hepburn way. And I thought to myself, the sheer confidence, if I could just live my life with like an ounce of the confidence that Janeway embodies in that one sentence, I could rule the world.
And like, ultimately, it was misplaced confidence.
It was, because she doesn't.
Oh, this is, we've said before, where like Janeway at her Janeway-iest, like, this is one of those episodes where, like, even just like the start of the episode, the way she's talking, I was like, if somebody watched this if this was their introduction to Star Trek ever, like, what the fuck would you think was going on? Would you, if you watched this episode, would you think it was set in the distant future?
You would think it was set in 1996.
Or consider this 1897.
Also a possibility. Like one of those sci-fi stories that was actually written in the 1800s. That would make perfect sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I also just really love how they're there for all of 60 seconds and Chakotay's like, "I'm finally going to get to act on my feelings." Like he is here for getting stranded on this planet with Janeway. And the delight, the sheer delight on his face when she says, "Call me Catherine," is just like, my heart just breaks for him. How happy he is.
His entire life has led up to this moment. Like, if there's ever a question like, which Star Trek character would you want to be stranded on a desert island with? If you're not answering Chakotay, what's wrong with you?
I don't know. I don't know. It was, however, though, something that really surprised me about this was I was not expecting upon first watch, which by the way, I think this was the first episode of Voyager that I watched.
Actually,
Yeah, because you were trying to convince me to watch it, I think. And I think I'd said, I think I'm going to watch Voyager, and I didn't know where to start. And so I very smartly Googled top episodes of Voyager, and I was looking through them, and it's on quite a few of the lists actually. And then you had told me, you were like, "Oh, you need to watch the bathtub episode. It's just a fan fiction." And it's great. And I think you said 90% of Voyager fanfics are based off this episode.
like,
And I was like, give it to
yes.
me.
Yes.
But I was still surprised that Janeway, Space Katharine Hepburn, is like her outfit of choice when stranded on a planet are like functional linen dresses.
The origin of Space Talbots is this episode.
Yeah.
Have we talked about Space Talbots on this podcast yet?
I
know
feel
we
like
talked about it a lot.
We've talked about it not on the podcast for years, and I think we've mentioned it in passing when we've joked that all the ladies from Star Trek Picard shop at Space Talbots, but we've never explained. I think we just expected people to know
When we
the
say
inside
Space
joke.
Talbots. So the origin of Space Talbots is this episode. Is us watching this episode being like, where'd you get that dress from, Captain Janeway? Obviously Talbots, but in space.
Yeah. I had to get some stuff at a Talbot's once, and it was kind of a strange experience because I was 17 at the time. And if you're under 80, you don't shop there. But I was in a pageant, and we'll just leave that there. We'll just lay that on the table and walk away slowly. But I needed a suit, I can only describe what I needed as like the wife of a Republican governor suit. So I had a two-piece, I got it at Talbot's, and it was gorgeous. It was really, really gorgeous. It was a red silk suit. So it had like a sheath dress that was like came right above my knees, and then it had like a little fitted jacket, and you could get matching shoes, some matching backless strappy sensible pumps, and I 100% looked 55 in it. And I was 17, but it was fantastic, and it came from Talbot's.
I didn't know you could get shoes at Talbot's.
You could in the times that I bought it in.
1897.
1925. Have you ever shopped at Northern Reflections?
I've definitely gone in there with my mom when I was a kid.
Ooh, did she buy anything or was she just looking?
I don't remember. I feel like there was a lot of, remember the jean jumpers?
Oh, like the really loose ones with the pockets and the buttons?
This is probably comes as a surprise to no one, but I was homeschooled for a while. And that was I just remember all the homeschool moms, jean jumpers with some embroidery at the neckline and then two pockets.
Exactly the same in Texas. Nothing about that was different. Why? If you were to trace the evolution of, I don't think it was purely homeschool moms wearing them, but it was definitely that kind of vibe. Not that there's anything wrong with that vibe, but that sort of vibe. So maybe you weren't a homeschool mom, but maybe your friend was. What is it that says, I need a denim jumper?
I feel because it spices up an everyday outfit, because you'd wear it over leggings and a t-shirt, so you could just have that on to get the kids ready, a t-shirt and leggings, and then you pull over the jumper and all of a sudden you're a classy lady ready to start your day out in the world
with your Reeboks and your perm.
Right? And it had two pockets, so you could put a juice box in there, or your car keys.
Yeah.
Or rocks. I don't know.
We just really women have been saying for years, we just want pockets and everything. And I feel like people need to listen.
I will single-handedly bring back the jean jumper unless You start putting pockets in more things.
Like, I've been spicy for my entire life about the non-functionality of pockets in women's jeans. What the hell are these? Now, to be fair, sometimes there was a period of time in the early 2000s where the jeans were so low rise that it was physically impossible to have functional pockets. And so I don't really feel like that was directly the patriarchy, although, I'm sure someone could connect those dots. But it's just crazy. Like, I can look at like the pockets on things that like my husband wears, and he has like way more pocket than I do. And I just don't think that's fair.
Want to know like my biggest pet peeve about pockets is that guess what I'm seeing a lot less pockets in now recently for women? Scrub pants.
Why would you not have pockets in scrub? That makes like, are they even scrub pants if they don't have pockets?
Like I assumed that like if you're buying a woman's scrub pant, it's gonna come with like at least 12 pockets. Like I want a huge pocket on either thigh, and then I want the regular pockets that you get with like men's pants, but like in addition to that, some more pockets. Like the majority of scrub pants just have like the two upper pockets and then maybe a pocket on your bum.
That's ridiculous.
Like I
You
want
need
like at
pockets.
any given time, like I want to be able to fit like a small child in my scrub pants. That
Small
should be my
child.
right.
It should be
Like
your right.
like I'm sorry, if I can't fit a stethoscope, if I have to buy like a specific holder to like clip onto a pocket to then put my stethoscope in, something is wrong.
No, that's bullshit. Let's start a petition.
I want at least 37 pockets in all scrub pants.
Pockets everywhere. The problem though with pockets, and I don't know if of course you have this problem, is forgetting stuff in the pockets and then you do your laundry. That's a problem that I've had my entire life, and other people who I live with are always complaining about it because it gets on out into the laundry and then it gets on other people's clothes, and all I can ever say is I'm sorry, you knew what I was when you married me.
Is it a problem or is it just unpaid research into your thesis of what things can go into the dryer and come out unscathed?
Oh, I like your reframing.
Because that's how I've reframed it for years. I know all sorts of things that I wouldn't expect to be able to be in the dryer really well, and they come out fine.
What's the worst thing you've ever left in a pocket?
I've left a lot of pens, and honestly, they didn't explode.
Really?
So the big thing, I'm gonna say something, and I feel like because our contexts are different, but like a $20 bill, I feel like
Ooh, yeah.
so in Canada, the money is washable.
So it's not the worst thing you've left in your pocket.
No, but like from like a different like our non-Canadian viewers, it might be different if I lived in America. But yeah, like our money, you can put it in the dryer or in the washer. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I've definitely left money before, and sometimes it survives and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know if it has to do with like the temperature that the clothes are washed on. I don't know. I think the worst thing I ever left there's two things. So once I left a pad like in a back pocket of a pair of jeans, that was messy. Because there was like melted plastic everywhere. But the worst thing was I'd left a lipstick, like a red lipstick, and it got all over everything. And it was like the lipstick was ruined. And it was a really nice Clinique one. And it was just over everything. And that really, really sucked. And I think that was probably the first time I tried to stop leaving things in my pockets. And I've been moderately successful.
So Star Trek.
Yes. Okay. I was surprised that Janeway was in linen dresses. I thought, okay, sure. And I think this is the first time that I can think of where a woman in Star Trek is in what looks like comfortable clothes, because those dresses do look really comfortable. Like they're loose, they're natural fabric. The only other thing that comes to mind is in, I want to say, season 4 of TNG, where Gates McFadden is almost definitely pregnant, and she's in like leggings and a big oversized like blue sweater. And
I vividly know what outfit you're
yes,
talking about.
it's the one with Vash, and they're like,
Yes.
and she's like, what are you doing here? Leave, please. And Picard is like, oh, I didn't mention her to you, and it's super awkward. And I love an uncomfortable Jean-Luc. But other than that, we don't really get to see anyone in Star Trek out of uniform very often, let alone someone in comfortable clothes, let alone a woman. And so I did enjoy, even though it seemed a little off character for Janeway, it also tracked for me, and I really was just like, yay, someone in comfortable clothes.
Yes. Well, and I also love that Chakotay got comfortable clothes too. I love his
Yes.
delightly impractical vests.
Yes. I like where he is telling her one of many times that she needs to just let it go because he's in love with her. And he comes over, it's about midway through the episode, he pulls basically a Riker maneuver without getting over a chair, but he puts his foot up and he puts his arm like behind her on the tree. And that is just not like, I mean, that is like, if you know that you have permission to be in a woman's space, you should do that. That is the sexiest thing ever.
This episode is porn.
It really is.
Like, this episode is like porn, but written by like a fan fiction writer who, like, you know, who's writing for a site that they don't allow explicit fics.
Yeah. And I did check when I rewatched it today, and this one was written by, is it Jerry Taylor?
Yes.
So this one was written by a woman. And I was like, I knew it. There's no, a man would never.
Yeah.
A man would never.
A man could never.
A man could never. But yeah, if you have permission to be in her space, do that. The lean over where like you're not touching, because just the anticipation, and also like he's like shirt's like open in the front, and there's like some like chest coming out, but not too much. Not enough to be gross, just enough to be sexy. And he's like leaning in, and it's like they could kiss if they wanted to, but they're not. And so, it's so good.
I feel like this episode is what Outlander thinks it is to women.
I don't know. I think Outlander definitely thinks it's just regular porn. And I think they're both shows are very sexy in very different ways. I think Outlander plays a lot on. Have you seen Outlander?
I've seen the episodes of Outlander that Maria Doyle
Kennedy said. Okay. Yes. Of course you have. Side note, y'all should go look up Maria Doyle Kennedy. She's really, really good. But the way she dresses in real life is basically how Sophia dresses. And I'm not lying.
Complete with like 18 scarves and like 2 pairs of sunglasses.
Like Doc Marten shoes, not boots. And like patterns that mix and shouldn't work, but do.
Sometimes.
But it does because you wear it confidently.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone pair dinosaurs with stripes as well as you. But you do, and it works.
I love a good dinosaur print.
I love a dinosaur print. Dinosaur stripes. Okay, so you've seen a little bit of Outlander. So I think Outlander is very much playing on just full on fantasies. Like, and it just goes all the way. It goes all the way with those fantasies. Oh no. I mean, it's a romance novel. I'm trapped. It's a bodice ripper. I'm trapped in the past. And a younger man, but not so young as that it's creepy, thinks I'm really, really sexy. And he's really, really sexy. And oh no, we have to get married. We have to share a bed. We have to consummate the marriage or he'll be killed. He's a gentle, gentle man. Like it's good in a different way from this, which is
I'm sorry.
also really amazing.
This episode isn't fantasy fulfillment. Oh no, I'm trapped on this, great temperate climate planet with the woman that I love. Oh no.
We're never going to get to leave.
Might as well build her a bathtub. Also, can I just say,
Hmm.
at 7 minutes and 30 seconds, Janeway mentions wanting a bathtub. At 11 minutes and 40 seconds, she's in a bathtub. All men, take note.
I love it so much. I love that immediately he's off in the woods. And she's like, you've been spending a lot of time in the woods there, Chakotay. I don't know what kind of
That was
attempt at
excellent. That was
Janeway's voice that was. But I love that he's like, oh, you'll find out soon enough. And he's so playful and he's so sweet. And this is all women want.
Mhm.
Like, we just want someone to listen to us, hear things that we like, and then take care of it for us or buy us that thing or make us that thing, because all anyone really wants is to be heard and to be listened to. And it's just really, really nice.
Mhm.
Like, he builds her a bathtub. Also, this is the stuff of like fantasy / fanfic legends. She's in the bathtub. Something happens. She calls him, understandably so. They're on a strange planet, but he comes out and she has to stand up and wrap the towel around her. And they're discussing what might be out in the woods before they slowly realize that she's naked under that towel. And they just look at each other and then he just leaves. And then she just stares off into the distance. And it's just so good. It's just so good. The slow burn.
And like, I know that they needed, like, it's not even a B plot. The whole, like, Voyager trying to like save them. It's related to the A plot, but like this could have been a 2-parter and we could have had an entire episode that was just Chakotay and Janeway fun sexy times.
You know what they could have done, and this is a really sad missed opportunity? They could have gotten sick again. Like while they were on the planet, or like one of them, preferably Janeway, gets hurt and Chakotay has to take care of her because she's broken both her legs, or maybe just one. It's late, but he has to take care of her, and oh no, and then they fall in love.
This is like, anyone who's writing a TV show, please take note. Like, all I ever want is like, make a character that will become my favorite character. Now, put that character in extreme peril. Like, not that like they're for sure gonna die, but like, break their leg a little bit. Now, have my second favorite character nurse them back to health, and then oops, they're in love now. That's all I want.
Yeah. And I feel like a little bit of peril is really important here, because like what Star Trek Picard did to Seven in that last episode was a little too much peril.
Oh no, that was the right amount.
That was the right amount of peril, but it was like she full on died and no one even got to nurse her back to health.
Yeah, no, the peril was not the problem. The nursing back to health being absent was the problem.
That was too much peril for me. She got effing stabbed in the organs.
There's a great fan fiction, and it's 7 of 9 in a coma for 10 chapters. It's excellent. If this is maybe like this is too much about me. And it's Raffi like at her bedside, and every chapter is like a different character like at her bedside, and then like eventually she wakes up, but oh no, she's confused. And Raffi
Does she have amnesia?
no, but she thinks that Ishib is still alive and in danger. And then Raffi
Oh, no.
has to like comfort her and like, oh, like therapeutically spoon her. And yeah.
This scenario is, I think, my single, and it's hard to say. So, spoiler alert, we read fan fiction.
You don't say.
You don't say. I saw someone refer to this the other day because the other day AO3, Archive of Our Own, was down and you couldn't access it for a while. And a bunch of people on Twitter were just saying, well, I need my bedtime stories. And it was grown people. And so it made me feel better about the fact that I also need my bedtime stories.
Well, like, let's normalize that, like, we have a resource where literally millions of mostly incredibly well-written fic that you can, like, tailor to, like, your specific interests is just readily available at the click of a finger. Like, there's nothing weird about that. There's nothing, like, embarrassing about that. Like, if it's not your type of fun, for sure, don't fucking access it. But, like, it's free. And it's there, and you can literally find whatever the fuck you want. Long live AO3.
It's amazing. And by the way, all the Star Trek novels, that's fan fiction. And I think those weren't considered uncool because for a long time, men were writing them. And guess what fan fiction was associated with? Teenage girls. So suck it, misogyny. But anyway.
That's the subtitle to this episode.
Suck it, misogyny.
Voyager bathtub episode, stuck it, misogyny.
But about the fan fiction, I think my favorite trope of all time in fan fiction, because I don't know that I've ever seen it in an actual episode of something. So I don't know where it came from, but my favorite trope of all time is character is injured, character is in the hospital, character wakes up and either has full-on amnesia or thinks it's an earlier time. So thinks it's like 5 years ago and doesn't realize that the person in the room who is really her husband and she thinks that they're still just working together. It's Ted and Rebecca. I'm talking about a Ted and Rebecca fanfic, guys. I love that trope.
There's a lot of like amnesia Ted and Rebecca fanfic.
Not enough. I've read all of them. There's not enough.
But, yeah, come to think of it, I'm not thinking of like a television except for like I'm sure soap operas. I feel like probably use this fic or this trope quite a lot. But like I don't actually think I can think of any like I can think of similar ones where it's not that they have amnesia. It turns out that they're like in an alternate universe or like there's like a time travel element to it. So that they actually don't know this person, but the other person thinks they do. But yeah. Where's Beverly at gmail.com? Please let us know if you can think of a television example that's not a soap opera of this happening. The one I can think of is like Lucifer, and it was a joke. Like the main character wakes up after an injury and he's like, oh, thank God you've been in a coma for 7 years. But like, it's not actually true. Like he's being an asshole.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Do you know the show Mama's Family?
No.
Okay. It was a sitcom that was a spinoff of a sketch that was done on the Carol Burnett show. And it's starring Vicki Lawrence, who was also on the Carol Burnett show. And she was probably in her 40s at the time, but she was playing like an old woman. And she was like grouchy and crotchety. And it was just about her family. And she was mad all the time. And it wasn't the greatest, but I watched it. And one of the characters hit her head and got amnesia for half an episode. And it wasn't a soap opera. But that's the only... Yeah, I mean, I can't think of, although I do feel like, why do I think that there's something in TNG where someone like doesn't know someone or thinks that there's someone else? What am I thinking of?
But it's never like, I know that there's been examples of that, but it's never been like as simple as amnesia waking up in a hospital. Like there's always
Yeah.
like a supernatural element to it, or like it's not full-blown amnesia. Like it's just there's one thing that you can't recall.
I'm wondering if what I'm thinking of with TNG wasn't TNG and it was like a Beverly Picard fanfic that I read. Like I'm being completely serious. Like I'm wondering if that's
Well, I think I've read the
not.
fanfic that you might be confusing.
Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. Workforce. That's what I'm thinking of, where they all think that they're different people.
But
So it's not
Workforce
really
isn't
amnesia. No, but they all think that there's someone that they aren't.
Yes.
And so there's that sort of element. I also really, really love, I think my second favorite trope, and I'm embarrassed. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to be embarrassed to admit this. I'm probably going to edit it out though. My second favorite trope is some sort of variation on, oh no, there's only one bed. I really like that. And nothing even has to happen, but it's just what it does to the characters, where it's like, oh no, there's only one bed. Or similarly, and often less porny, is we have to pretend to be married in a situation. And I really, really, really like that. And I was hoping, but we didn't get. I actually thought in the Fly Me to the Moon episode of Picard that Raffi and Seven might like pretend to be married. And then I was super disappointed that they didn't.
Boo. That's why we need a Raffi and Seven TV show, because I feel
Mhm.
like the shenanigans that those two could get into would be legendary.
Just like the playfulness that Seven has with Raffi is just really great because we've never gotten to see that with her before.
I love Playful Seven.
I know. Speaking of Seven of Nine is not in season 2 of Voyager, but this episode is. What other thoughts? What did you think about the B plot in this episode?
So, like, is it really the B plot if it's basically the characters trying to solve the A plot?
Yes, technically.
Okay. Well, I didn't catch it the first time, or maybe I was in a different headspace, but like when I watched it this time, all I could think of is I've never related to somebody more than when B'Elanna is like, why don't we do this or why don't we do that to save them? And Tuvok just looks at her and goes, "To what end?" Like, I have never identified with someone more
Wait, then with
than
B'Elanna?
Tuvok. No,
With
Tuvok.
Tuvok.
Like,
Say more.
like I have a lot of meetings at my work, and like a lot of the times like people will like, just like throw in ideas, and I just want to be like, to what end though? Like, come on.
I don't think I realized that I needed to be able to do this, but now all I want in life is to just throw up my hands at an inopportune time and say, to what end?
I forgot how much of an episode, like of a Tuvok episode this was.
Mhm.
Like, and I really, really love Tuvok, and I really loved him in this episode, and I really like that they showed the nuance, and they showed that, like, he was going through it. This wasn't easy for him.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job as acting captain. Really, really good. Better than a lot of other people who've in different various Star Trek shows that have gotten to be the captain for a short amount of time. And one thing I really, really liked that he said is we did two things that I think, and I know like this is a fun episode and stuff, but in all seriousness, I really, really loved about Tuvok in this was his leadership style. I like how Harry Kim came to him and was saying things, what about this? What about this? And Tuvok essentially says, okay, well, that's all well and good, but you're not in command of the ship. I'm responsible for everyone. And that means I have to think differently. And I really, really liked how seriously he takes that responsibility and sort of in a similar way when he decides, okay, we're going to contact the Vididians. What are they called?
Vidians, I think?
Vidians. Okay, thank you. He very clearly says, I want to make this clear. This is my decision. Like the buck stops with me, full stop. I take responsibility for this. If anything goes wrong, it's my ass. All of you are absolved. And I just think that is such excellent leadership to have your team come to you, convince you of something and then admit that you changed your mind, and then honor what they're asking you to do, but make it very clear that if anything goes wrong, it's your ass on the line, not theirs, that you are going to cover for them. And that is what a leader is supposed to do. And I really liked Tuvok in this.
Yes, I completely agree.
I also love how Janeway can't be that upset that they go against her wishes, because that's exactly what she would have done. She wouldn't have left them on a planet. She would have contacted the Viridians.
Vidians. Say Jadzia-Dax.
Jadzia-Dax. It's not a real name.
I want to do an episode. Please write in where'sbeverly@gmail.com if you want an episode where Adrienne just talks about what she thinks Deep Space Nine is about. Mainly, what you think Jadzia-Dax is.
She's some sort of weird, creepy symbiotic being that makes me think about demonic possession and how terrifying that would be. And I don't like it. I'm deeply uncomfortable with it. I didn't say it was wrong, did I? I said I don't like it.
She's a trill and she's lovely and I love her.
I believe you. And that is your experience of the character. And I honor that. However, this idea is deeply unsettling to me in a similar way that you're terrified of people turning into animals.
I don't think it's similar. Because I think my fear is a real threat.
I like how... Explain.
Like, I think that at this point, Spirited Away was a documentary. And like, at any point, any kind of free food is actually going to turn you into an animal. And I live every day in fear of that.
What kind of free food? I haven't seen Spirited Away. What kind of free food does she get?
No, it was like, so, again, I saw this movie once. It was at a birthday party. I think I was 11, and I have never seen it since. But my vivid recollection is, I think it's the main girl's parents. Like, there's this buffet, and then they start eating at the buffet, and then they turn into pigs. And, like, in that moment, I was, like, probably eating chips. And I, like, put the chips down and was like, no.
Oh, no.
This will be my fear for the rest of my life.
Okay, have you seen Disney's Pinocchio?
Nope.
Okay, then don't. Because
someone turned into an animal.
So the boys, they're like bad boys. They go to this like amusement park and they've all run away from their families. I don't really know what the point is. And Pinocchio is with them because he thinks they're cool. And I think one of them's name is Lampwick, or maybe that's a character on Beauty and the Beast. I can't recall. But they start drinking what I'm now thinking with my adult brain is beer. Maybe it's root beer. I don't know. But the more of it they drink and the more bad they are, they start to turn into donkeys.
Okay,
but like
no.
slowly. And then this man,
that is terrifying to me.
And then the man that runs the amusement park sells them to farmers and makes money off of them.
Okay, like I'm literally gonna vomit. Like that is the worst thing. It's like that to me is like I'm gonna think about this for the rest of my life.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
We
can't do the rest of the episode, guys, because I'm only ever gonna. Oh. I'm just gonna casually throw up in the corner while you talk about resolutions.
Okay, quick question. Would you say that's like your greatest fear?
Yes.
Okay, that's so interesting. So my greatest fear used to be living through a global pandemic, but then that happened.
Like,
So
I
that was a hell of
realize
some exposure response prevention therapy, I'll tell you.
I realize it's a bold claim for me, a nurse who worked through the global pandemic, to say that my biggest fear is getting turned into an animal, but I still stand by that.
But here's the thing, you're afraid of what you're afraid of. And fear is very, very rarely logical, right?
Mhm.
So it's okay that you're afraid of that. Speaking of logic, Tuvok was great in this episode again. And yeah, I really, really liked how Harry Kim was the one that kept trying to stand up to him, and he was so feisty. And then when he says the next words out of your mouth, Lieutenant, better be yes, sir. And then he just goes, yes, sir. And it was so like, Harry Kim, are you 12? Like, how old are you? But it did remind me, I think he's supposed to be younger than maybe I've been thinking he is.
I think he's supposed to be the youngest member, right?
I think he's because he's an ensign, but he might even be. Is he a cadet when they first leave? Or is he an ensign
Oh,
even in
no, I think
season
he's an
1?
ensign. I think he's an
Okay.
ensign in season 1.
I haven't seen very much of season 1, except the weird first episode where I remember sending you a screenshot and just saying, "What the literal hell am I watching?"
Oh, I remember that.
I was like, "There's a hoedown and a banjo." Like, what?
That's why I was like,
What
watch
is
resolutions
happening?
first.
It's so good. Okay, but I did wanna ask you, does Janeway ever cry ever again outside of this episode?
Oh! I think so. I think so. I think there's an episode later on where she does. I'm literally Googling this. Star Trek episodes where
Janeway, go cry.
Janeway cries. The Star Trek No Cry Challenge. Yes, okay, there's a whole Reddit thread about this, and she has
Oh.
cried since, I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and she cries. Yes. Okay, yeah. No, she cries actually in an episode that we're going to be covering soon.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I do remember that.
Mhm.
I wonder if people don't like that she cried. Like, I wonder if
Why?
there were people that would say that it was, like, bad feminism or something to have, like, a lady captain cry. Um, but I say more crying for everyone.
Mhm. People cry.
They do. And because of both differences in hormonal fluctuations and also socialization, women do tend, in a generalization sort of way, cry more than men. And so it doesn't seem strange to me that she cried. I liked it. I mean, I would have cried if
Mhm.
someone told
It
me
goes
that
with her
story.
character.
It
She's
does.
an emotional person.
Yeah. I really, really like, the more I think about it and the more I've watched Voyager, the more I like Janeway as a captain. I didn't initially. I thought she was really annoying and very, very brusque in an unnecessary way. But the more I watched of Voyager, the more I really, really liked her, not only as a captain, but as a person. And I think you're right. She's a very emotional person. And it is usually something that benefits her, but not always. And I really appreciate, and I don't know how much of this was intentional or accidental or whatever, but I like that we got in the 90s a, quote unquote, strong female captain who in a lot of ways has plot. We've talked about this before. A lot of the stuff that Janeway gets to do is stuff that Kirk would do or Riker. Like she's very written as a very like sort of cowboy diplomacy type of character. But she's also still written as a woman. And I like that. And I think it works really, really well. And this is a somewhat controversial statement, but I think that some of the stuff that we got in the 90s with a female minority and LGBTQIA plus representation was actually better than some of the stuff that we have now. But I can't back that up with evidence.
I think in some respects, yes. Like I think that we've made huge leaps.
Yes.
Recently, but I think that making huge leaps doesn't mean that there wasn't some great representation before those leaps.
I think, let me like clarify a little bit. I think there was some, to use a good Baptist term, some backsliding that happened in the 2000s. So I remember in the 90s, there was a lot of what felt like progress in representation on TV. And then it sort of felt like it just kind of stopped. And now I think in the last few years, we've started to get it again. And it's been more than what we got initially in the 90s. And I've always wanted to ask someone that knows more about that than I do, someone that studies probably sociology, why that was. But I think, and I know I've heard other people mention this before, but I can't think of where it was, but you did have some really good stuff. And I noticed, not long ago, I was rewatching a movie from the 90s and it was an ensemble cast. It was a rom-com and it was really diverse in terms of like ethnicities. But then I remember thinking anything that came out after 2000, it was just all white people. So what happened where there was this like, it stopped and then it took a while before that progress sort of picked back up again. And I just think that's really interesting. And so all that to say, I think that Janeway was all in all a really well done character.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
But how about Chakotay giving her a back rub? Boxer.
That was. Can I also say, though, I just loved, this is, I think, one of the big episodes where we remember, conveniently, that Janeway's a scientist. She's not just command. And I really, really like that. That I like that she's this nuanced character. Like, I feel like in a lot of earlier Trek, women were allowed to be one thing. And I think nothing shows that better than Deanna Troi and Beverly Crusher. Where it's, you're a doctor and you're a counselor and you are not allowed to have skills elsewhere. And
okay, Sophia. I vehemently disagree with you.
Well, I think that in later seasons, I think that the actors were instrumental in showing that these were multifaceted characters. However, I think that the writing was very like, this is your role. Whereas, so I love that Janeway is in command, but she also has this huge science background, and this episode allows her to explore both of those things.
No, I just really appreciate it. And I thought this when I was rewatching it tonight, I thought, how cool, especially in the 90s, for a woman wearing a dress to be talking about quantum physics. Like, that was just really cool.
Yes.
And it was a cool thing to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's funny that you said that, though, because we're literally doing later this season an entire episode on why Beverly Crusher's a badass. And my number one reason is that she's nuanced.
Well, and I think that she is, and I think the character in itself and the portrayal is nuanced, but I think that there was some handcuffing happening in the earlier seasons that even Gates McFadden herself alluded to.
Yeah, I think in the earlier seasons, yes.
But she wasn't, at one point, she was basically just supposed to be a mother and wasn't even shown as a good doctor.
Have you seen season 1 of TNG? Sophia.
No, I'm going by what Gates McFadden has said about how she
Gates
felt like her
McFadden was
character was.
wrong. We're editing that out.
Welcome to Where's Beverly, I guess.
No, but I think it's very, very likely that was like how she was conceived. However, even as early as episode 3 of season 1, she is very, very much like shown as a commanding officer. She, I can't remember what it's called. Picard it may not be episode 3. Please don't come for me, but it's the one where everybody gets sick, but it's not the Naked Now. And she removes him from duty because she has the authority to do that. And she's the only one that can. And so in those first few episodes, you get a lot of that. And you also get her being the one, she's the foil for Picard all the time with like the Prime Directive stuff, where she's like, basically, screw the Prime Directive. There's people who are dying. Use your emotion. And she's like arguing back with him. And it's never, by the way, which I love, she's never emotional about it because she's a mother. She's always emotional about it because that's like how she feels about it, because she's a doctor, not because she's a mother. That's where I was going from. That's so funny. Okay, I can't wait to talk more about that. That's hilarious. I think that's so interesting. The ending of Resolutions. I was just really pissed off when Voyager came back. They were so sad. They didn't want to leave. Janeway was growing tomatoes. Chakotay was going to build them a boat and they were going to explore the river. And then she was going to break her leg and he was going to have to nurse her back to health.
Worst decision that the writers ever made was to have Voyager come back.
I was really, really pissed. And just the looks on their faces. Oh, okay. This actually was really, really good writing and it was really well done in terms of acting. But when they're outside and they start hearing what sounds like their communicators, and they go back in and they keep saying, and Tuvok, you hear Tuvok saying, Tuvok to Janeway, they wait so long before they respond.
Yes.
And there's this moment where it's like they don't want to.
Yes. There is, I'm going to say 60% of Voyager fan fictions are them just like not coming back. Or coming back after like 2 years with like at least one child.
Yes, please.
Like I'm going to say there's probably out of all of the like resolution fan fictions, 75 to like 95% of them are like they have a baby and they stay together forever.
I know what my bedtime stories are going to be tonight. How about yours?
There's like a tag on AO3 where it's like a resolution fic. And so Adrienne.
Yes.
Where's Beverly in this episode?
I have a question for you first related to the episode. If you were stranded on a planet, what would be your bathtub? Like, what would someone build you?
Okay. Not as in what would I use as a bathtub?
You can also answer that one.
Hopefully a bathtub. What, like, it would have to be like something somebody could build me.
Or replicate, or bring you.
Okay, because like my first thought is like I'd like my cats with me. I feel like they'd enjoy that kind of climate.
Yeah.
If not, like, why was my first thought a bandsaw?
Someone would build you a bandsaw? Have you?
Yeah.
I have a question. Have you ever used one?
Yeah.
Oh. What did you use it for?
Bandsaw things.
That sounds made up.
You can a bandsaw is multi-purpose. You can cut popsicle sticks with a bandsaw. You can cut 2x4s with a bandsaw.
True.
You can do whatever you want with a bandsaw.
This is true.
What about you, Adrienne?
I don't know, but it wouldn't be a saw because I feel like I mean, I feel like this is a super not creative answer, but a bathtub. Like, a bathtub is my bathtub. Like, I need to spend at least a portion of most days submerged in water, or else I'd cease to be a functioning person.
So not like a swimming pool, you want a bathtub.
Well, any sort of safe body of water without sharks or dead bodies in it that I can submerge myself in, that preferably has temperature controls. So a jacuzzi, a heated pool, or a bathtub.
Okay.
Yeah. How many space monkeys that want nothing to do with Janeway does this episode get?
The only reason why this doesn't get 10 out of 10 space monkeys is because Voyager comes back for them at the end.
Yeah.
So I think it's a 9 out of 10. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. I was very bored by the Viagrans and that whole plot thing. And I'm really upset that they came back. I understand why they did it. I think it was, a good idea. And I have to be honest, it really pissed me off that at the end, Janeway and Chakotay sit down in their respective command chairs and they don't even share a knowing glance. Are you kidding me? After going through all of that, they can't have one more bout of eye sex? Like, what the hell? So 8 out of 10.
Boo.
We lose 2 space monkeys.
Valid. So where's Beverly in this episode, Adrienne?
So Beverly is actually living on the planet. She is the one releasing the monkeys. So So you've heard of Who Let the Dogs Out, but I hear you and I raise you. Who let the monkeys out? Dr. Beverly Crusher. She's training them to ride unicycles in the circus. I don't know where the circus is or why it exists, but that's what they're doing. Where's Beverly?
Beverly is in sick bay in the back smoking a cigarette, and when the doctor is like, we have to save Chakotay and Janeway, she just like puts her non-cigarette hand over the doctor's hand and is like, they don't want you to save them.
That is not where I thought you were going with that, but I really like it.
Where do you think I was going with it?
I thought you were going to say she's smoking a cigarette because she just read some really hot Chakotay Janeway fan fiction.
No, in the back of my mind, I just think like whatever Beverly Crusher wants to like make a point, she's just like smoking a cigarette in sick bay.
Why does that track so much? She just has like the most epic, like cool girl, I think, like energy, like Regina George, but not an asshole.
Yes.
So cigarettes. It tracks.
It does.
It 100% does. Also, she's a risk taker. She flew into a star once before roundhouse kicking an alien. She can smoke cigarettes if she damn well pleases. So this has been a ride. Where can the people find us if they haven't sworn off our podcast after today?
We lost all our listeners.
Definitely all of them.
Twitter at Where's Beverly, Instagram at Where's Bev, and our Gmail. Please send us fanfic recommendations, pictures of your cats. Did you watch that miniseries from the early 80s with Kate Mulgrew and Pierce Brosnan? Do you think that she acted the exact same in this episode as she did playing a woman that was married to Pierce Brosnan in the mid-1800s? If so, send me your thoughts on that. Where's Beverly at gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
You dreamt you were in bed with someone? Frankly, I'm envious.
I did fall asleep reading a particularly erotic chapter in my grandmother's journal.